don't call me Jiggy when I'm home, they call me Snowman. Yeah. We ain't never home, but treat the city like the base. Yeah, you know where to look if you're looking for the wave. Yeah, looking for the.
What it do? What's going down? What's happening? Welcome to another episode of the EuroSteppin Podcast. Snow, what it look like over there, man? It seems like y'all got a little sun peeking through them blinds over there.
Yeah, man, I'm excited about it. You know what I mean? I'm enjoying it. I'm actually going to go outside. I'm going to get a little walk in today. Mm-hmm.
A little what in?
A little walk.
A little walking. Okay.
Yeah, just enjoy the weather.
You don't want to get a light jog?
Steer clear of the jogging.
Hey, man. Yo, not gonna lie to you, Snow. Today's show, I'm excited to have this one.
Right.
I mean, from the years I played in Europe, the years I've been keeping up with European basketball, this is probably the most winningest guy that I've heard of new in Europe. Because
yeah, no doubt.
Yo,
as decorated as any.
As decorated as any.
Appreciate y'all. Appreciate it.
He's been a Italian second division cup winner, cup MVP, and also a two-time Italian second division cup winner. He's a German League All-Star Game MVP. He's a German League Finals MVP. He's a German Super Cup winner, a German League champion, and also a Greek League champion. He's a VTB United League Defensive Player of the Year, six-time VTB United League champion, a Euro League All-Decade team from 2010 to 2020.
Stop. Time out.
No, stop. He's a four-time Euro League champion. Four fours. You know, we tip on four fours in Houston. He's just recently an Italian Super Cup winner and an Italian Cup winner. Welcome to the show, Mr. Kyle Hines.
Appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate y'all for having me, man. I'm excited for the opportunity to talk to y'all. First of all, thank you for the warm welcoming. But like I said, man, like I said before off there, man, I'm a fan of y'all podcast. I'm a fan of what y'all doing. So, you know, I'm excited to be excited and honored to be a guest on the show.
Man, we appreciate that.
Man, we appreciate you coming on the show. Your name has came up a couple of times on the pod, so we had to find a way to reach out to you and to get you on.
Hopefully only good stuff, man. Hopefully only good stuff was mentioned.
Yeah, all of it was good. All of it was good.
For the most part.
For the most part, all right. I'll take that.
It was one player that, you know, he said y'all was cool, y'all was boys, but he was still upset with you.
Oh, man. I gotta know. You gotta tell me who that is.
One of your old Cheska teammates. Let's just put it like that.
Okay.
Right.
I already know.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. Snow, what's happening?
Let's do it. Man, I want to start here, man. I've not heard you answer these questions, but I look at you, man, and I see, you know, you're 34, you've been doing it. Before we get into the early stages of your career, I want to touch on what are you doing to stay as athletic and as active as you are? Like, how are you keeping your body in shape? What are you, or is there a certain, like, do you do something differently in terms of what you eat? Well, I want to know that part before we get into your story.
So I mean, I'm a workout junkie. So, you know, I'm always, you know, in the gym, you know, working out, you know, doing different things, you know, even during the off season. Like during the off season, you know, most guys, they take off like a month or, you know, change. Like 1 week after, like I'm home, I'm back in the gym, like working out, you know, trying to stay in shape. The way I just kind of look at it is like, if I'm always in shape, then I'll never have to get back in shape. So and most of the times, how it is. Most injuries occur, when you're not in your best physical form. So for me, like I said, man, I just try to just stay in the gym. Just try to stay. I mean, it keeps me busy, and a lot of times it just kind of keeps me out of the way. So most of the time, in the summertime or even now, I'm either in the gym or I'm back home with my family. And then, as far as like my diet, as I gotten older, before when I first came over here, man, I was eating honey buns, McDonald's every day, pizza, so as I got,
like all
older,
of us.
yeah, like all of us, how it is, eating the worst of the worst. But, as I got older, I try to, stay away from like the fried foods. And, now that, the plant-based diets and, all that different stuff is becoming more popular. So I try to, I'm not vegan, I'm not plant-based, but I try to implement, some of that stuff, into my diet, to try to, help with my longevity, man. I'm trying to, be like, the LeBron, Tom Brady's, trying to stretch this thing out as long as possible. So we'll see, see what happens. And I figure, my diet and these things are, is the best way to, I can control that. So.
Right. Well, man, let's jump into the early stages of your career. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, we know you're a Jersey boy. End up going to UNC Greensboro.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about how your college experience was at Greensboro.
When I first got down there, it was culture shock. Like you said, I'm a Jersey kid, so I was, I basically lived, in the suburbs of Philadelphia. So in Jersey, everything is fast paced, everything is moving. And people is, people, how it is up north. People are angry for no reason. You can't hold the door for anybody. You can't, everybody is fake tough up there. So, when I got down south, everybody is just super friendly. People just want to help you out. They want to, talk to you. They have that full like Southern hospitality. So, for me, it was strange. Like I was, I'm used to always having my guard up and used to always having my head on the swivel. But it's like, you go anywhere and people just want to talk to you. Everything down south, people move slow. Like the thing that got me was like the squirrels, like, in the New York and New Jersey, like the squirrels, the pigeons, they be moving. You go down south, the squirrels, they walk right next to you. They be just slow motion, just like you. So for me, initially, it was a big culture shock. But it was one of the reasons why I wanted to go to school down there because, North Carolina is it's a college state. They have all these different colleges and universities there. So, I wanted to kind of go down there and get the real feel, the real experience of, of a college and a university. And I was able to do that at Greensboro. Greensboro gave me the opportunity to, come in and play right away. And the coach there allowed me, gave me room to, make mistakes. And like I said, I was able to kind of go there and kind of thrive in my career.
Right. So Greensboro, you had a really good 4 years at Greensboro, right?
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
So were you planning on going to the NBA? Did you try to go to the league, or was Europe already on your mind? What was you thinking in your process?
I wasn't even thinking about Europe. Like Europe wasn't even on my radar. Like I didn't even know because all the stories I heard about guys or players that went overseas were all bad stories. It was all about guys not getting paid. It was all about guys being stuck in apartments or being left here or fighting with coaches and stuff like that. So I was like, man, I'm not even trying to go over there. I was like, and I felt that, that I could, play in the league. So my mind was only focused on that. So I wasn't even thinking about, overseas until I got to the NBA pre-draft camp and I played there. And then I realized there was 100 guys. Yeah. I realized there was 100 guys better than me. I was like, yo, in the Southern Conference, I'm that guy. So I was like, Greensboro, I'm that guy. So then when I go to the pre-draft camp, and I'm looking at, there's Derrick Rose and OJ Mayo and, all these different guys. And, I'm looking at them. I'm like, yo, I called my agent. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to get my passport and we're just going to have to figure this thing out.
So many dudes aren't like that at all, man. So many dudes just aren't, they're not, I don't know how to say it. I I get being a hooper and being confident and thinking you're nice. We all got some of that, right? But at some point, you got to kind of be a little bit real with yourself and just say, hey, man.
Yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, I started becoming real with myself when I started, like I said, when I seen the other players, but then also when I was like talking to like NBA execs, like, you know, if I seen the GM, like I straight up asked the general manager, Danny Ferry, and then also the assistant general manager at the time, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I asked them, I was like, do you think I could play the NBA? And they gave me a real straight up answer. And then like, so once I talked to them, I was like, yo, this is their job to evaluate. So I mean, if they felt like, you know, I didn't have, you know, an opportunity there at that time, then I was like, well, I got to go a different route. You know, the NBA was still on my mind, but I was like, listen, like, let me go overseas and let me try to forge a different path, you know, to try to get over there. So.
Right. So you end up taking the overseas route.
Yeah. So, I mean, the funny thing about that is that I was in NBA Summer League, and I told the story before, but I was in NBA Summer League, and the general man, like the assistant general manager of the Cavs, introduced me to this coach named Andrea Trinchetti. You know, so he was the coach at Verily at the time. So he was like, yeah, this guy's interested in you. You should talk to him. So like I said, I tell this story all the time. I'm used to like college recruiting. You know, you go to college, they take you to the steakhouse, they take you to the top, you know, the top-notch restaurant, they take you to the best of the best. This dude took me to McDonald's. Sat me down, had like Big Macs and like the whole spread, the McDonald's spread. And I'm sitting looking, I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm signing homeboy. It's like, this ain't happening. He got to bring something better to the table if he want me to go overseas. But then once we started talking, and he just, like you said, if you know Andre, he knows how to talk that talk. He just convinced me, you know, to go overseas. And, you know, by the end of our conversation, I was sold, man. I was like, all right, man, where you want me to sign? And that's what happened.
Wow.
When you figured out
his name's came up quite a few times.
Yeah.
When you figured out you was coming to Europe, right? How were you feeling, man? Like before you get on this plane, were you anxious? Were you nervous, man? How was your emotions? What were your mind? What was your mind?
I was all the above, honestly, to be honest with you, because I didn't know what to expect. You know, there was no, you know, this is 2008. So, you know, I'm going to a small team called Verily. There was no real Wikipedia, no Google or no nothing like that, really. So it wasn't really like I could really like, you know, figure out where I was going. I just knew I was going to Italy, and I heard it was near Rome. So that was it. So, you know, I knew I was going somewhere to hoop and play basketball. So, but I mean, I was anxious. I didn't know what to pack. I didn't have no bread. I had no money. So, you know, I'm just going over there literally just for the strength. Like I went overseas with a negative amount in my bank account. And I was like, listen, like I'm just going over and I'm just going to see what happens. And like I said, I mean, I was all the above, man. I had no idea. I was like 21 at the time. I had no idea what was going to happen. So, yeah.
So, second division, Italy, right? Everyone's first year when they come to Europe, they experience something where it was a shock to them, where they didn't they didn't maybe know how to maneuver or didn't know what to do in certain situations. Or should I say, everybody has a culture shock, right?
Yeah.
What was your culture shock?
I mean, the first day I got off the plane, literally, because, you know, we get off the plane and they come pick me up. So, you know, I land in Rome. So I'm like, oh man, Rome is dope. Like, you know, I'm thinking we close to Rome. Yeah. So we land in Rome and then we start driving and then we driving. And I'm looking, I'm like, yo, the Rome is getting further and further in the rearview mirror. So, you know, we pull up into this mountain and then we start going up the mountain. And then the mountain is like these like cartoon mountains. So it's like, you know, you go up and you see the movies and it's like you go up like in a cyclone, like in a circle. This is what Verily was. So we going up this mountain, and the driver, like, I guess, you know, he's used to these driving. So he's just turning on these wide turns. There's no lights, there's no nothing. So I'm in the car bugging out. So we get there and literally they drop me off at the apartment. So I walk out the apartment. and there's like literally like wild dogs and cats and pigs and horses and all running around, and I'm just like, yo, where did I get myself into? Like, this is crazy. So like the very first day I got there, I was like, yo, man, I don't know what this is. And then we pulled up to like the practice gym, and no knock on the facility. It was a second division facility, but it was like almost like a vinyl wrap practice gym. We had a court with like the half baskets, and that was it. We had a small locker room, and like I said, I'm coming from at least a Division I program. I'm looking, I'm like, yo, this is professional.
Right.
This is professional basketball. This is what it is. Like, so like I said, the first day I was just in my room. I was like, man, I gotta figure out a way to make this work, because this is not what I thought it was gonna be.
Man, when you bring up gyms, it takes me back to when I went to Cyprus, right? And in that gym, when I was there, man, the gyms were so cold. I've never felt gyms that cold in my life. They had two big blow heaters on either side of the court, just blowing heat. And I've never seen nothing like that. And I was like, man, is this the rec center or is this professional basketball?
Exactly, man. Because I've been in in Philly, and I've been in the hood in North Philly. I've been in like some gyms, some like gym, like you said, like the rec center. But this is like, they had no heat. So like in December and January, we practicing in a hoodie, full sweatpants, like. The basket, one of the baskets don't have a half net, like they had the net ripped off, and then it was this, man. It was different. But like, I mean, after a while, man, I got used to it. But the initial culture shock was just like, man, this is crazy.
At any point during that time, did you consider going back home?
I was homesick, to be honest with you, because for a good part of the season, I was the only American on the team. So, right. I'm 21, 22 years old, first year out. And, in the second division, you're allowed two Americans and one foreigner. So at the time, so our American got hurt. So he left and got surgery. So I was basically there by myself. The other foreigner, he spoke Italian. So I was there like literally almost like by myself for like a month. So I'm just there, like, I'm not communicating with my teammates, because they don't really speak the same language as me. And like, I was literally there. So I got homesick, and it was days like I called my agent. I was like, man, like, something got to move, man. Something got to shake, because I don't know if I can, get through this. And fortunately for me, the American that came in happened to be a veteran. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Jerome Allen. He's now the assistant coach with the Boston Celtics, but he was like a, OG vet over here. And he was, I'm 22. He was, around my age now. He was 35, about to finish up his career. And he came in, and he basically just was my vet. He basically took me under his wing and, basically taught me how to be a professional. And literally every day, like, if it wasn't for him, like, I don't think I would have made it throughout the season, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, those vets are
sometimes guys don't they don't take advantage of the vets they have.
No.
A lot of young dudes just think, they think they got it all figured out. They don't want to listen to nobody. Like, what's your advice on that?
I mean, when in any situation, and not just basketball, but in life in general, you should always look at older people or seek out the advice of older people, because eventually you're going to be them. And eventually, I mean, like, with all the experience and all the wisdom that they have, you need to soak up the experience, because everything you already been through, they've been through. I mean, they've seen everything. So if you want to see what your life is going to be like, you should go talk to, older people. And I realize that now, because now I'm the older guy in the locker room. And, I got 26, 27, 25-year-olds in our locker room. And I'm just looking at them sometimes, the things that they say, the things they do. And I'm just like, yo, it's almost like deja vu, because that was me. That was me. So it was like, when you're young, you really don't get it. But I still tell the young guys all the time, I was like, yo, man, find you a mentor, find you an OG, find you a vet, and anything you want to do, and soak up as much knowledge as you possibly can from that person, because I mean, that it's going to be so valuable.
Right. Yeah. Kyle, your story is well, not your story, your journey through Europe is, I think, a lot different than most, because as I look at the teams you played on, you've been what? This your 13th season professional?
Yeah.
You've only played for 4 teams.
Yeah.
Which is almost unheard of.
Unheard of. Unheard of. Unheard of. Yeah. Yeah.
So, man, I know you don't know, you probably don't know the answer to that, but man, how does that happen? Pretty much. Because I know in Europe, most guys, they hop teams. Like we all did. I hop teams, snow hop teams. The guys you played with had hop teams. But you've been on 4, which is nothing.
Man, to be honest, man, it's I've been fortunate, I've been blessed, and I've been lucky. And it's more luck than I would say anything else, because like I said, I've known guys that are, way more talented than me, way more skillful than me, that have played, 10 years and played for 10 different teams, 10 different countries.
Right.
I just been fortunate enough to go into some really great situations. Every team, I can honestly say, every team that I played for, from the team that I started in the 2nd division of Italy to Bamberg to obviously Olympiacos and Cesca, I've been fortunate enough to go to great situations. And, and in the bulk of my career, I was super fortunate that I found a home, in Cesca, which I never would have thought. I never would have thought that I would have been there for 7 years. I never would have thought that. I never anticipated when I first got there that this would be where I would spend the bulk of my career. I wanted it to be, but I never thought it would be. So, yet again, I think it's just a lot of skill, a lot of, a lot of luck. There's no skill involved. There's a lot of luck, and I've been fortunate and blessed to be in a lot of good situations. I would say that, I do my due diligence, and I try to look at the situations I go at. Like I said, I ask older players, I ask players that have been there. I look at, what these positions may, lead me into my future job, or what's going to be next for me. Which I tell young guys all the time. I'm like, don't look at your next job. Look at where your next job is going to take you 3, 4, 5 years down the line. So I think I've been trying to, do that. But I mean, the short answer is really, a lot of luck, man. I've just been really lucky and very fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a humble way of answering the question.
Yeah.
A really humble way. But I think a lot of it has to do with not only the player that you actually are and the way that you go about just doing anything and everything it takes to win, but I think it also speaks to your character. I think no, it has to, right? I think that we know in Europe, these people, yes, you got to be able to hoop and do that part of it, right?
Yeah.
But they really care about character. They really care about the kind of impact you make in a locker room and not just on the floor, right?
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about how you've managed to navigate relationships during the time you've been in Europe?
I mean, we were literally just talking about this yesterday in the locker room with some of the young guys. I was like, you all know it. The system is set up for American players to fail here in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
It's set up that way because as soon as they sign you, they're looking for a reason to replace you.
Right.
From day one. This is just the fact of it is. When things go left, when things go wrong, the first person usually out of the door is the foreign or American player. And they're able to do this because there's so many of us that are trying to get in these positions and trying to play. So for me, the biggest thing that I learned, and like I said, I learned from my first year out, is the one thing that I didn't want to do. I was like, listen, if you want to judge me for what I do on the court, if I'm not a 3-point shooter, if I'm not this, if I'm not that, that's fine with me. But I was like, never is anybody going to not sign me because of my character or what I've done off the court. And I was like, that's the one thing that I don't want. I never wanted to, for somebody to be like, oh, we don't want to sign him because he's this, or we didn't want to sign him because he does this off the court. He's not this type of guy off the court. I was like, if you don't want to sign me because I'm only 6'4", or because I'm not this, then fine. I mean, my game is not, not for everybody. But like I said before, I think the biggest thing and generally with Europe is the character, because as soon as you come over here, you're already trying to knock that American stereotype. As soon as they sign you, they're already looking for you, and sometimes in some ways they're already trying to set up for you to for you to mess up. So like I said, man, I always looked at it from that way. I never wanted to be, considered, that guy that did that off the court. We all know the stories. I mean, majority of the Americans, majority of the players that play or get cut or don't do well isn't because on the court. It's, I would say, more than 70% is because off the court.
Yeah.
They doing stuff in the clubs. They're doing stuff, not being accountable, not showing up, not being professional. Like that's really the biggest, the biggest burden, the biggest hurdle that most of us face over here. So I wanted to make sure that that wasn't me.
I love that, man. So you move on from, I don't want to mess up the team name, Verily.
Yeah.
Verily. And you go to Germany, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And can you talk a little? That's the one place that you only spent 1 year. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you talk about that experience, man? Germany's a great place, and Bamberg's obviously a good club. Can you talk about that situation?
Everybody.
You all know about Germany. Germany is probably one of the best, most stable places to go to. First of all, you get paid on time. So that's everybody, everybody eventually is like, if I get to Germany, I'm good, man. I don't got to worry about my money. And the way they have everything set up in Germany, the apartment's going to be good. They're going to take care of your food. They're going to take care of everything. So, so when I went there, like I said, I'm coming from second division and I'm going there and it's like, I'm like, I swear on everything I love. I didn't check my bank account for the first 3 months because I was so used to getting my money late. So I just happened to check and I'm like, I got 3 payments in here. Like I was so conditioned to like not even check it. Like literally like when I got it was like, it's like clockwork. And I mean, the same with the whole like organization. It was just a great experience. There is where I learned how to fulfill a role and how to become a role player and how to sacrifice, what it takes to, to win a championship. I was going to a team that already won a German championship. They only added 1 or 2 players. It was me and Ray Sean Terry from North Carolina. So they only added us 2. So they brought us along and, we were there basically to fill a role. And it was the first time in my career that I went to a team where I wasn't the best player, where they wasn't asking me to, score, or they wasn't asking me. He was like, listen, like, your job is to set picks, play defense. And, when you have the opportunity to score, when you have the opportunity. Mm-hmm. So like the first month, I was like, man, this is insane. The first month I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like I'm used to having a ball in my hands. Like my thing I always say is like, you think you a scorer till you get around some scores. Like I thought I was a scorer. I thought I was like man, I'm until you get around some people that can actually score. So, but like I went there and I was able to, soak up the experience and learn what it took to, sacrifice your role, learn what it took to, to become a winning player. So, that experience was super valuable to me because I learned what it took to win a championship. So.
Before we move on from that, because I think this is what you just described is kind of what's made all of what you've become, right? Mm-hmm. That's what everybody knows you as in Europe is a winner, a champion, a guy who does whatever it takes for his group to succeed. So I kind of want to touch on that a little more because I see that on this team in Germany where they didn't bring you in to be the man.
Yeah.
You ended up finals MVP. Exactly. So you accepted your role so much. You went from a place of like, man, I can't do this to accepting it so much that you were you started your role so well that you became finals MVP. So can you talk about growing to a place where you actually accepted it completely? Can you talk about that growth and whatever had to happen for you to get there?
Literally, when I stopped focusing on stats, individual stats, my individual play, the things that, individually that I thought that I was, and I started focusing on team basketball and doing this stuff that, what I need to do to help my team win. My whole career did this. Literally did this. Once I started going into the game and I said, listen, this is my role. My role is to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to make sure that I'm the best at my role, win my matchup, whatever my matchup is, whatever the team needs me to do, I'm going to do. And literally overnight, it went like this. I went from like, struggling in the first like 2 or 3 German league games or 2 or 3, 4 German league games. And then literally like once I was like, I shift my mentality and I start focusing, like you said, I mean, I ended up, doing well in EuroLeague and then being finals MVP and all these other different things, because like I said, I think is in Europe, especially on high level teams, is everybody can score, everybody can play. And 9 times out of 10, I mean, they're not bringing you over here to score. I mean, on high level teams,
Wow.
I recognize that. I recognize that for my role. They're not bringing me over to score, 15, 16, 20 points. I mean, in most high level leagues, the leading scorer in the league maybe averages 16 points a game. And everybody's playing, 15, 16, 20 minutes. So I was like, you know what? If I embrace my role and I become a champion in my role, then everything else will take care of itself. So.
Man, it's funny that you say that.
Hold on, Tom. Can you please say that one more time?
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, once I became a champion in my role, everything else took care of itself.
And it's funny that you're saying that you experienced that in Germany, because I didn't understand the role thing until I went to play in Germany, because I played in Oldenburg.
Yeah.
Oldenburg is also a good team in Germany,
great team,
top team,
great team,
won championships or whatever. But before that, I was all about, man, let me just get these boards and get buckets, buckets. But what I want to put out there for the people who don't know who Kyle Hines is, what also makes Kyle Hines unique, he plays the power forward and center spot at the height of 6'6".
That's being generous, but yeah, I'll take the 6'6".
He said himself he was only 6'4". He said, real rap. That's what I do. I wasn't going to get drafted. Whatever. You go to the pre-draft joint, they do your height and weight and all that. Without shoes on, they said I was 6'3" and 6'3" and 3/4. I was like, it's over. No way.
I was like, it's over. I was like, there's no way in hell that an NBA team is going to pick a 6'3.5" center power forward. I was like, it's a wrap.
Fam, hold on, time out.
Yeah.
You're how tall, legit?
Without shoes on, I'm like 6'3.5", 6'4", maybe 6'4". Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
But the winningest guy in Europe.
I appreciate it.
Not just the winningest guy. Dave, my man, guards every position.
Every position.
Guards, point guard to center.
Yeah, man, I've been like,
that's impressive.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, Kyle, we're going to take this small commercial break. So, Kyle, you played well in Germany, did work, MVP of the finals. Then that's where you make your step to one of the most decorated teams in Europe, Olympiacos.
Yeah.
Go there and play with arguably one of the best point guards in Europe that's been in Europe, probably in European history. I don't know. I said arguably.
The best player.
Okay.
Best player.
Dave, so we know who his starting point guard is on his top 5.
Tell us about Olympiacos, man. A lot of people, when they bring up Olympiacos, the first thing that most people talk about is the fan love and how crazy the fans are, especially with the rivalry between Olympiacos and Panathinaikos. So won't you dive into that?
Yeah, I mean, so, it's unless you're there, it's really hard to necessarily put in words. Olympiacos and Panathinaikos, I mean, these teams are birthright teams. Like, you're almost born in it. I was talking to Josh Childress a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, the best way you really can put it is like if the Bloods and the Crips had a basketball team. That's the best way to really explain it.
I think that was James Giss said that.
Yeah, that's literally what it is, man. Because you walking around and it's literally like gang out there. It's like they got the spray paint. If you go to a certain neighborhood, this is Panathinaikos neighborhood. You make a left, it's Olympiacos neighborhood. They let you know they got the red. You know, one neighborhood they got the green. If you walk in the red, if you green, you walk in the red zone, you might not make it out without a few lumps in your head. So you know what I mean, that's just how it is. So they're just the fans. They are just super passionate about sports in general, and it's not just basketball. Like it's even in water polo or volleyball or whatever. Like anything between those two teams, it's a strong rivalry. So. To be able to experience that, I mean, was incredible, man. Like I have so many great memories of, playing against in those games and, playing in that rivalry. I mean, it's like I said.
Tell us one of those stories. What's probably if you have one or two standout memories from that time frame, what would you point to?
But we ain't talking about the championship. We talking about some crazy story, something crazy.
The rivalry. So,
it don't even got to be the rivalry. Whatever you want, anytime, anything.
So I'm gonna go with the rivalry. I'm gonna say just pulling up to the rivalry, and I probably even talked about this. So you pulling up to the rivalry, and you pulling up, and you get on your team bus, and then you got 2 police caravans, 3 motorcycle caravans. And then, a slew full of cars following you, like boxing you in. It's almost like you like Obama or the president rolling through, and you riding through the city, and they got literally every intersection, every way blocked off till you go to the game. So like you pulling up this is like my first time playing. Like this is intimidating. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like what are we getting ourselves into? Like this is just a basketball game. Like I'm just coming here to hoop. So like this is. So, I mean, that is intimidating in itself. But I mean, I've been in, so many different experiences. Like I tell the story all the time about, we played Olympiacos Panathinaikos, and during the cup is the only time where we could play. They have both fans. So Olympiacos fans on one side, Panathinaikos fans on the other side, and they got the cops all in between, in the middle of them. So during this particular game, they shooting flares back and forth while we in warm-ups. I end up getting hit with a flare in the back of my head. I'm sitting there shooting a free throw. A flare just came out of nowhere. Pew, knock me out on the back, knock me out on the ground. Come pick me up. They take me to the court, take me to the locker room. So I'm sitting down, holding my head. I'm tight. I'm like, I just got hit in the head with a flare. My teammate's like, man, it happens. It happens. This is just Olympiacos Panathinaikos. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, yo, we really about to play this game? Coach get on the board, draws up the play, and we play like nothing was happening. And then in the same game, we playing the game in the warm-ups, and all of a sudden, 2 fans break out and they meet each other in half court, and they just start fighting. This is before the game even start. Start rumbling in the middle of the court. Fans start rumbling in the middle of the court. We just busy warming up. They break it up. So then we play in the game, right? Mind you, this is still all one game. We play in the game, right?
This all the same game?
This is all the same game. We play in the game, right? So all of a sudden, one of the Olympiacos fans jumps over the balcony, and we on like that side of the court. I don't know where he pulled it from. He pulled out like a half of a boulder out of his pocket. I don't know where he pulled it from, a half of the boulder, and just chucked it at one of the Panathinaikos players. Just chucked it at him. Smacked, hit him. They stopped the game. So we got to get this fan out. Then we come back, we playing some more. Then all of a sudden, like the police just lose control, and then all the fans just bump rush to the center of the stands of the court and start fighting. So we stop. Our families is in the corner. We running, getting our families, pulling our families into the hallway. They still fighting. So we back in the locker room. So they like, yo, we can't resume the game. So they clear out all the fans. Clear out all the fans. We come back, still play the game, finish the game. Like all this happened in one game, one situation. Game over. You would think there would be like some type of retaliation, some suspensions, some investigations. None. They kept it moving like nothing was happening. They were just like, yeah, man, this is just one of those games. So that was probably like like I said, that was just like one game, bro. So
yeah, that was a lot within 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. exactly.
So at Olympiacos, I know, a lot of craziness went on, but you had great success there. Back-to-back EuroLeague championships. Tell us about that. How was that feeling? Like, I know the first feeling, the first championship had to be probably one of the best feelings ever.
I mean, it was crazy for the fact that so I guess what many people really don't know that weren't there at the time was that Olympiacos was going through a rebuild. So, the year before they had Josh Childress, they had, Linus Kleza, they had, Milas Teodosic. They had the biggest budget in Europe. They were spending all this money. So the year I got there, they were like, listen, like we cutting back. We cutting back. We signing, a bunch of young players, a bunch of unheralded players, and we just going to have Spinoulis. Spinoulis is going to be our centerpiece. We're going to sign a bunch of young players around him. So we had no expectations going into that year. Like they didn't even think we was going to get out of like December or January. Like they was like, but they didn't even think we was going to advance to the next round of EuroLeague. They was calling us a college team because we had a whole bunch of young players, 23, 24 years old. So they was like, there's no way that they're going to do anything. And, we just kept grinding. And eventually, like I said, like we end up, getting to the Final Four out of nowhere, getting to the Final Four. And then that game where we played Cheska at the time was the most dominant team of that season. I think they lost maybe one or two games. They had like Andre Kirilenko, Sasha Khan, Nene Kristic. Like they were like this unstoppable force of a team. And, they had us down 19 points. And then we made like the biggest comeback, in EuroLeague history with that, the final push shot of this Yorgos Brindizis, and we ended up winning the title. So for me, it was like I was living a movie. You see the movies, like the underdog movies, like the Rockies, all this stuff. It's like, you start off and nobody thinks you're going to make it. And then, you have the storybook ending where you win the championship. So it was unreal. It was unreal to me. Like I wish, looking back on it now, like I wish I would have enjoyed the experience a lot more. I wish I would have soaked it in a lot more because at the time I didn't realize, how special it is. You don't realize how special it is until you lose a few of them. Like I said, at the time I was winning. So I was like, man, this is, it's all champagne every night. So I was good. But, I wish I would have got the opportunity to enjoy a little more. And then the second year, honestly, we felt like we was disrespected. Like we felt like in the next year we came in, we wanted to prove everybody wrong because everybody thought that we got lucky that we won the championship. So everybody was saying, they were like, this team's not really built for the championship. They got lucky, they can never do it again. So we had that, like that whole chip on our shoulder the whole entire season. And that's why I call, Billy Spinoulis one of the greatest players of all time, because he has that, like, that Tom Brady, like Michael Jordan, like motivation. Like he had us like every day thinking we was like some pit bull animals. Like he was like, yo, they don't respect you. They don't respect y'all. I mean, they don't think this. So every day we played, like we thought like we thought we had something to prove. And like I said, for us, it was, we got a chance to, win back to back, which was an incredible experience. And then this time, we end up, blowing Real Madrid out. So for the majority of the game, in the fourth quarter, it was like we actually got a chance to celebrate and actually got a chance to enjoy the championship experience. So, rather than like, hitting the game with a buzzer beater shot, we was, 2 minutes in on the bench, just, celebrating already. So, I mean, I think it was, like I said, I mean, those championships were both special, but looking back on it, I wish that I actually enjoyed it a little bit more. And, like I said, soaked in the moment a little bit more looking back on it as I got older.
Right. I want to ask you something totally different. Okay.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about your actual height, right?
Yeah.
But what we see is you still finishing above the rim like as if you were 6'8".
Yeah.
So I want to ask the question. I've never heard the answer myself. So what is or was at your peak athleticism level, whenever that was, whenever you in your athletic prime, what was your highest vertical?
I honestly don't know. I never really done the vertical jump, to be honest with you. I don't really know. And I don't even know if I could, and I don't know how to put this, but I don't know if it would even be measured, because I'm one of those guys like see it and go get it type guys. You know how you have like, like you throw it up and it's like, I'm just gonna go get it. Like that's how
Where was that?
But so if you put me like in like probably like a regular jump, metrics test or whatever, like my metrics would probably be, decent or whatever, maybe a little above average. But you put me in a game, if somebody throws a shot up there, I'm going to try to block it. Or if you throw at the time you throw a lob, I'm going to try to go get it. So that's just how I was at the time. And I think even though I'm short, I got a long wingspan. I got like a 7'2" wingspan. So I think that's what makes up for the difference, which is kind of like abnormal. Like I'm 6'4", but I got this long wingspan. So, basketball is really played, even though you're short, but basketball is really played with your width, your height and your length or your wingspan. So like I said, even though I'm 6'4", but with my wingspan, I'm able to cover a lot of that. So that's why I'm able to, finish and still be able to, defend bigger players, to be around bigger players.
So had 2 amazing years at Olympiacos, win chips.
Yeah.
Now it's on to the next chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Moscow, Russia, which is totally opposite than what Athens was.
Totally opposite.
But land to another historically known European team, the CSKA, and you ended up winning. Say you was there for 7, you got 2 chips there also.
Yeah.
Tell us about that CSKA experience.
Initially, like you said, when I was coming from Athens, winning back-to-back titles, living on the beach, how it is in Greece, enjoying life, getting the best of the best. Everywhere we go, I'm eating for free, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Then, I go to CSKA and, obviously the club is a club. CSKA is one of the prestige, one of the, biggest clubs in all of Europe.
Sure.
But, going to Moscow, Russia is totally foreign. It was totally foreign, for all of us, as Americans, Russia has always been the natural opponent, from, Rocky and Bullwinkle to, to the Rocky movies, to John Wick, to, to whatever, it's always been about, USA and Russia. So I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
So Moscow is pretty much like a cold Seattle.
Yeah, probably worse, man. Probably worse.
Hey, yo,
honestly, probably worse.
Yo, watch your mouth. Watch your mouth.
I get on my guy, what's the name? Mike. Mike's from Portland. But I always tell me from Seattle. He always get upset about that, Mike James. But
he is from Seattle. He is.
Yeah. I always get him all the time. But I was just talking to somebody from Seattle. Oh, Shaq McKenzie from Seattle. I was just talking to him. Yeah. So
Listen, there's far more great hoopers from Seattle than anywhere else. Let's just make that clear.
Than anywhere else, you said. Wow.
Anywhere else. Look at these recent drafts. It'll shock you. It'll shock you.
But that's a whole different conversation because
Seattle got hoopers.
We ain't got to do that.
There's a lot of Houstonians in the NBA right now.
Seattle got hoopers.
I can tell you this.
Houston got hoopers, but come on, bro.
I can tell you
it's the East Coast. Like you can't say nothing about like Philly, Jersey, New York. Like that area.
Come on,
all right, look, we ain't gonna get off. This is EuroSteppin. We ain't gonna get off track.
that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, we can get that back for a long time.
Right. So, let's get back to Moscow and CSKA.
Yeah. So Moscow is totally different because living there, there's no sun from November to I would say April. So it's snowy, it's windy, it's cold, majority of all the buildings look the same. So it's easily to get, I guess I would say depressed. Like it's easily to get that way there because, you don't see the sun, you don't see any difference. At the time, like even the daylight is gloomy and cloudy. And then the sun rises, I think in January at like 9, let's say sun, but it's daylight, gloomy daylight at like 9 p.m., 9 a.m. And then the sun sets, it gets dark at like 4:30 p.m. So it was like for that period of time, it's like all you seeing is darkness or clouds. So it initially coming from Athens, it was almost the same. Like my first month or two there, I was just like, man, this isn't it. This isn't it at all. Like I'm just saying, like I don't know if I can deal with this, but the basketball was great. And, you know, for me, like, I'm a low maintenance guy. So I was like, as long as the hooping is great, as long as the situation is great, then I'm going to make it work. And like I said, I mean, Moscow ended up becoming the place that I've ended up staying, you know, for the most time. Ended up being where, you know, me and my family fell in love with the place. Like, we look at Moscow now as like our second home almost. Like, you know, my kids, my daughter was, you know, speaking Russian, going to Russian classes. You know, they look at Russia, they look at this stuff like, you know, this is where they, you know, spend majority of their time. So it's almost similar to like we was talking about like earlier, like with the NBA and overseas. Like, I went into the mindset like, you know, I didn't think that Russia was going to be what it was. And it ended up being the biggest blessing in my life and my whole entire career, to be honest with you.
Oh, so yeah, get 2 chips in the Cheska. 7 glorious years there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're in Milan.
Yeah.
Considered one of the favorites to win a championship this year also. You know, you got you know, good team. I know it's long. I mean, I know it ain't easy. It's never easy. But, you know, you guys got a great shot. How's Milan?
I mean, I'm loving it. You know, it was a totally different foreign opportunity for me, you know, being somewhere for 7 years, and then coming to a totally different place, you know, especially at 34 years old. But I mean, I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed the opportunity. I enjoyed, you know, embracing the challenge that they have here. You know, they've done a great job of trying to put together a team, a group that's going to challenge, you know, for the EuroLeague. You know, adding, you know, myself, you know, Malcolm Delaney, you know, Gigi Datome, you know, Sergio Rodriguez, like, you know, all these big name players. So we have a great group of guys here. And, you know, we've been, you know, very successful at this point in the season. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, like I said, I feel like we're going to be right there. And we're going to have, you know, a great chance to, you know, hopefully, you know, get the opportunity to, you know, lift that title again.
Kyle, I'm gonna press you a little bit here.
Yeah.
And
I was expecting that, man. I was expecting that.
I feel like you gave just now, that answer was truthful, but you gave us the answer, a politically correct answer a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you've been on championship teams and you know exactly the kind of like texture it takes. Do you feel like you guys have those makings and that combination, that mix, that blend in order to actually get it done? Or do you feel like you're one of those other teams you've been on that were close, but not quite?
Nah, we got the ingredients. We got the ingredients to get it done. Like, we got everything, like, to get it done. To be honest, completely honest with you, we have it. You know, we have a group of guys. I think the teams that I've been on that have been the most special have been a group of guys that have been the most selfless. We have a bunch of selfless guys. Like, literally, guys don't care who gets the glory, who gets to shine. And, you know, those are usually the teams that usually go the furthest. And I mean, that may be like, you know, politically or whatever, but that's just the dead honest truth. Like, though that's the real honest. The teams that I've been on, that's like, you know, guys that like I've been on teams that have been way more talented than this team, but they've been always the teams that, like I said, eventually something will happen. You know, a guy gets injured, a guy, you know, didn't get his buckets or whatever that night. The team, everything falls apart. This team is built differently. I mean, we have a bunch of guys that on any given night can go out and, you know, perform and do well. So we have the makings, we have the ingredients, but I know how hard it is to win a EuroLeague title. Winning a EuroLeague title is probably the hardest title, the hardest championship to win, just because you play through so many different formats throughout the whole entire year, and you're basically essentially playing, you know, for one game. It's one game. You play a playoff format, and then you basically playing your whole entire season for one game. I mean, we all know anything can happen in one game. You know, anything can happen. So, so you know, so I think we have enough to get there, and then once we get there, then, like I said, we'll see what happens.
So, Kyle, here goes a question for you, man. Usually Snow asks this question, but I'm gonna steal it from him.
All right.
All these years playing in Europe, you know. When we first came over here, we didn't know that there was players over here like that was this good, right?
Yeah.
So who was the one guy, maybe it was just only for one game, that gave you some work? That day he just had your number.
It's a bunch of guys that get that might have. There's a few guys that like that they gave me some buckets. Let me think. You had Gist on. Me and Gist, we go at it. We've been going at it for years. So, we go back and forth. I mean, me and Gist been going at it since pre-draft in college. So, every once in a while he may get me. Every once in a while I may get him. I love battling against him. Who else? Older cat, Mike Batiste. Mike gave me. He introduced me to what European basketball is all about. Yeah, he introduced me, man. He woke me up real quick. Him. Trying to think who else. Then guard wise, because I get a lot of switches and stuff like that. To be honest with you, when I initially seen Luka, and I guess that's his name, Luka Doncic, and everybody, I didn't think Luka was that nice. And then Luka did some stuff, and in some of our matches, I was like, yeah, he got it. Like he's that real. He's a real one.
Other than that, hold on. So he came off some ball screens. Y'all switched. You switched on him, and then is that when you found out he was real?
Yeah, at the time, the first time I played against Luka, he was 16, right? So I'm going. You get a young player, so you try to beat him up and you try to hit him. So I'm hitting him, he hit me right back. So this is so you see you in the playground or whatever, and somebody hits you, you like, oh man, okay, he like that. So I remember one of the first times we played him, we came off a ball screen and I backed up off him. I was like, you ain't gonna shoot that, young fella. You ain't gonna shoot that. One dribble stop, shot it, swap, cash. And I was like, okay. So then we every once in a while, I was like, okay. And then every time I played him, he just had these moments. It wasn't every time. He got me, but like I said, he would have some moments. I'll be like, yo, he's all right. He's all right.
Yeah. All right.
I want to
go ahead, Snow.
One thing we like to get into with every guest is I think you kind of gave away your point guard already. So we know who that is. But who's the rest of your starting five of any guy that's ever played in Europe that you would pick to go in your starting five?
Europeans,
American, European, don't matter.
I'm going with Spanulis, number one. To me, he's the greatest of all time in Europe. He's done so many things, and he's still doing stuff at 38.
I'm gonna tell you, Mike not gonna like that.
Who? No, but I'm gonna put Mike at the 2. See, there you go. See, I'm putting my guy Mike at the 2. So I gotta go Mike. Mike James at the Mike is the most talented player I've ever seen, offensively talented player I've ever seen play. He literally has everything. He can do everything. I don't tell him this, but I don't tell him this to his face. Yeah. You know how Mike is, but he's the most talented player, and it's not, and also just to hit the way he is, his work, he puts in work, his work ethic is strong. A lot of people don't see it, but I was with him, for a year and change, and he puts in work.
Hey, I actually used to train Mike myself up here in Seattle, so I can tell you, Mike really puts in work. He really puts in work. Yeah, man. And his story, his story is something else. Where he came from, how he come in, and it's still writing itself right now. So, I tell him all the time, I was like, bro, you gotta tell more about yourself. Tell more about your story. You gotta write a book, write about something, do something, because a lot of people just see him for his surface. They see Mike, Twitter, that type of stuff, but they don't see really who he is, man. To me, he's the most talented, most misunderstood player in Europe playing right now. 3, I'm gonna go with my guy Will Clyburn. Will is when he's healthy. He's a Swiss Army knife, man. He can do it all. He could do a little bit of everything. My 4. Dave, Will Will Clyburn been getting a lot of votes lately.
Been getting a lot of votes lately.
Man, Will's tough, man. Will's tough. And I think Will's the type of player, he would be tough in the league too. But he found a home in Cheska, and I think he's gonna be there for a while. But he's tough, man. My four is gonna be Mike Batiste. Just because, man, I love Mike. I love how he plays. I love who he is, man. He's just a gritty player. My five is Big Sofo, because I mean, you know, he's man, baby Shaq, man. You know what I mean? At his prime, he was the most. Nobody could handle baby Shaq. In his prime, you catch him in his prime on the right day,
can't do nothing with him.
Over. Nothing with him, man. Nothing
can't
with
even
him.
move.
Nobody. Nah, nobody. Maybe only Shaq himself. But other than that, in his prime, when he was really moving and really doing what he needed to do, there was nobody touching him, man.
So, Kyle, man, how much more time you think you have, man? 34 years?
Man, God willing, I mean, I want to try to ride this till the wheels fall off. You know, like I was asking y'all, man, I was like, what's retirement life like, man? So y'all got to give me y'all perspective, man. Y'all got to give me y'all my OGs, so y'all got to give me y'all perspective. So, but I'm gonna try to play I'm gonna try to play as long as I possibly can. You know, but it's not just me, it's my family as well. So, you know, I'm trying to, you know, figure out, you know, what's the best situation, what's the best move for my family. I got another year on my contract here, so, you know, I'm gonna be here at least till, you know, 36. And then from there, I'm just going to take it year by year. Right now, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. But the thing about it is, like, I want to be able to compete. I want to be able to still play at a high level. It will frustrate me that if I was out on the court and I was, you know, only playing 5 minutes or 6 minutes or 7 minutes or, you know, 10 minutes or something like that. So, you know, I want to be able to play as long enough as I'm still able to contribute at a high level for a high level team. Man. But yeah, y'all gotta tell me about this retirement life, man. Y'all gotta give me the real, you know, what it is.
You said it right. You said it right.
Yeah, you gotta say, man, you gotta play till the wheels fall off, man. God willing, because if you, I know a lot of guys who retired early and regret it. Because I'm tired of Europe, man. I'm tired of the European politics, blah, blah, but they still love the hoop.
Yeah.
If it wasn't no injuries, like if you don't have no injuries, if you could go out on your own terms, that's the best way to do it. And when you go out, you got to have something ready. Because I didn't go out on my own terms. I was still ready to hoop. I was done at, you know, 36. Still had, you know, thought I still had a lot in me, but you know how Europe is. Once you 30, 31, they start thinking you going downhill.
Yeah, man, you already 1 foot out the door.
So, man, you got to have yourself something ready. Fortunately, I wasn't fortunate to have anything ready at the time. So for me, the first, I would say, year or two was rough. You know, until I, you know, found out my niche or, you know, found some stuff, you know, to do to take my time, but prepare yourself because it's coming. It's inevitable.
I appreciate that. Yeah, man. No, Father Time's undefeated, man. Let you God and, you know, maybe a few other people on the select few of this earth, but Father Time's undefeated, man.
Yeah. So Kyle, man, what with a lot of players coming over to Europe, young players who don't know because none of us know that maybe they know better now because of the internet and social media or whatever. What would you tell young kids coming over here?
Number one, I would tell them to do is to do their due diligence before they come over here. Talk to other players, older players that have been over here. Older players that have played for the same team that you're signing for, or played for the same coach that you're signing for, so you know what you expect. It's almost like, you know, getting the answers, you know, or studying before you take the test. You know, that's why I tell guys you have to know what you're walking into, because a lot of guys from the outside looking in, They think that this overseas game is sweet. They think it's like you can walk right in. They don't really understand like how much of a grind it is. And like I said, it's not so much the physical grind. Sometimes it's the mental grind. So, I would try to say get with, some older guys or some guys that played before, and speak to them and talk to them. Number two, I would say when you start this overseas game, write down or figure out what you want to get out of this. What is your end goals? What do you want to get out of this? Because that's going to help give you your roadmap to what you want to do and how you want to succeed in your career. I think a lot of guys come over here. Sometimes they just over here. But if you got to think about it, it's like, listen, like I want to play over here for 10 years and I want to do X, Y, and Z, then, start gearing towards that. Start trying to figure out a way to try to get towards that and start working towards that every day. I was always worried about the long game. I'm trying to be in here as long as I possibly can and trying to do is maximize my opportunities as most as I possibly can. So I would say that. And last, I would say embrace the culture. Yes. Come here and get fully immersed in the culture. A lot of guys, they come over here and they start complaining about, oh, this isn't like back home, or this isn't this, or we don't have this. You got to come over here and you got to literally forget like, yo, I'm not going back home. Like, that's not an option. I'm not going back home. Get immersed in the culture, learn the language, start meet people outside of basketball, meet, neighbors, regular people in the community, talk. Don't sit here all day and just be on Call of Duty or in your apartment, go from your gym to that. Actually get out and get immersed in the culture. And if you do that, your life here is going to be totally better. It's going to be completely better. You're going to, get a chance to enjoy that, more than you actually thought you could. So those are kind of my biggest three advice for young players.
That culture is very, very important part, man, because that's how players last over here.
Facts.
10 years or more.
Absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
So outside of basketball, Kyle, man, what you have going? I know you have a podcast that you do.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about the pod a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, I much like y'all, we talked about a little before. I basically created almost like a media production company. And basically what we do is that we try to do content geared towards, overseas basketball. So the whole thing is like, like you were talking about, Snow, it's like, you would come back home and people would ask me all these goofy, silly questions about overseas basketball. So I was like, rather than, me tell them, I was like, I'm going to show them. So, we started like, trying to, film like, documentaries, short docuseries and stuff like that to try to give people opportunity to really see, what this overseas basketball life is like. And then we trying to show the positive parts of it. Too many, like I said, when I first started out, all I heard was negative. I always hear about players not getting paid, this, that, and the other. So I was trying to show the positive parts. Like, you come over here and, some of these guys that come over there, we get treated like guys. Like, you go places, you get signing autographs, you getting the best of the best. So I'm trying to show that light of it. And then the same with my podcast. The one podcast I have with my brothers is called Hoop Tales Podcast. We did 2 seasons. We did like 14, 15 episodes. With a bunch of cats, J.R. Holden, Malcolm Delaney, James Giz, Dante Draper, Brian Dunstan, a whole bunch of different guys that played overseas, basically to show guys, tell guys their stories. Like I said, when we first came over, I'm sure the same with you guys, if you didn't know somebody directly from your university or from your high school, or from your direct network that went overseas, you had no idea what she was going through. No. So by using these stories, these guys can type in, these young kids can type in on YouTube or type in whatever and be like, yo, listen, like, I want to know about what's overseas basketball like. They can listen to, y'all podcasts or other podcasts and, try to figure it out. So that's basically what it is. And then my other podcast I have with Elpa, the EuroLeague Players Association, is basically a player advocacy podcast. It's basically just trying to teach players different life skills, different things, and try to get to know players on a different level. So we just talked about Josh Childress about real estate investing. I talked with Jose Calderon about retirement and prepping for retirement. I talked to my teammate Jeff Brooks about social justice and athletes using their platform for social justice. So we're doing all these different topics, to try to give people and fans a different perspective of what we're about, and also for us to also learn and educate. So.
Oh man, that's dope, man.
Appreciate it.
So every platform you got going, man. Everyone tap in. What's the name of your podcast so they know what to go look for?
Yeah, so you could check out my production company. It's on Instagram. It's at GTM Family Productions. Or you can go to @GTM, or you can go www.gtmfamilyproductions.com, see some of my stuff on our YouTube page. The podcast I'm doing right now is called the Players Podcast, presented by the EuroLeague Players Association. You can check that out, and you can check me out on my page at Sir Hines42 on Instagram. You can find all the information there too.
Already,
that's a bet.
Man, we appreciate you coming on, spending time with us. Spitting game.
Yeah, man, I appreciate y'all, man. We gotta do something too, man. I got something in the works that I want to try to get y'all involved in too, later on down the line. So we gotta definitely collab and talk about some things.
Already, man. When the next time y'all come to Istanbul? I'm in Istanbul. So when the next time y'all?
I don't know, unless we play one of them teams in the playoffs, which might happen. I don't think we come to win. Yeah. So we've been there twice, but we might play there in the playoffs. So.
Okay, yeah. Let's link whenever you come, man. Let me know. I'm here.
Definitely, sure. I appreciate y'all.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for another episode. Watching another episode of the EuroSteppin Podcast. Catch us on Next One's Network YouTube page and also nextones.com. That's EuroSteppin Podcast. No G.
We got all the gang.
Thought it was a joke, what they still playing games for? Holes in my denim, never holes in my game, no. You won't be just like me, they don't love